All right. All right. We're live everywhere. We're live on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Let's go. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about these 4 items that are required indefinitely to hit the highest level of success in both business and in real estate. Like these 4 items are non-negotiables. Okay. Let's just put it that way. Now, there are people, guys, there's people that can forfeit these 4 items and still hit success, but they're miserable. You guys ever heard the saying that you can win a lottery, but the vast majority of people that win the lottery, over 95% of people who win the lottery, are worse off and further indebted than they were before they won the lottery. And it's because they don't have these 4 things set up, guys. So tonight I really want to go over these 4 items. They're non-negotiables in regards to in regards to success. Now, everybody thinks that finance is the number 1 success in your life. And if once you have finances dialed in, that you're good. You don't have to worry about anything else. That finances truly are the pinnacle thing that makes life so much easier. And finances just make you, one, more of who you are, and life more complicated. Because as hard as people think making money is, keeping it is harder than making it. Making money really isn't all that hard. It's actually, once you have a roadmap, it's not hard at all. Now, here's the thing though. I remember getting started in business back in 1993. Okay. And gosh, the pictures of me getting started in 1993 in my other room, I pulled them out. So I'm going to post those here on social media. You guys will enjoy those. But I remember wearing Guess shorts and a shirt that said bum on it. If you guys remember those back in the early 90s, bum was a big deal, and IOU. And so if you guys are old enough to remember that, that's what was in, right? And I'd wear these little string muscle shirts and that said IOU or bum across them. And I remember going to my first training. And when I first looked at a network marketing, a multi-level marketing company years ago, I was told to go get trained, and training was really the key to success. And one of the big things that really made a big needle mover for me back in those days were the fact that here it is. This is pretty cool, actually. This is cool. I just thought that this was up here. Is one of the big things is like training. But people think like they're going to go get trained, right? Like they do in a university. They think that if you get started in something, you get trained like you are in a university, you're going to get trained to get wealthy in real estate, in multi-level marketing, in social media marketing, whatever it might be. And you're wrong, because the biggest thing, guys, is that first you got to train yourself from all the bullshit that we've learned for 14,000 hours from the time we were in kindergarten to the time we graduate high school. And one of the biggest things is that most people are so brainwashed with our system that we've been put together that they don't even get to any level of success. So watch, here's the 4 things. I'm going to talk about them one by one, okay? First, let's talk about training real quick, because you got to train yourself on your mental health, right? So you talk about family and faith. And one of the big things is that most people don't even function on faith. And so they have no faith whatsoever, because they don't even know what direction to take in life. And so they never do it. But watch, check this out, guys. Check this out. Watch, look at this. These are pretty cool. This is a book that I have from years ago. And check it out, man. I'll share this with you guys. This is like the success book from way back when. This was in Florida, bungee jumping way back in the day. This is me speaking at a training with one of my mentors, Rich Vaughn, back in like 1995, guys. And you know what's cool is that I didn't start there. I started in the audience. That's me way back in the day, wearing a tie, and us hanging out at the poolside, my distributorship, me with a couple of my distributors, some of my directors. I want you to check this out. There's me wearing my specs before my eye surgery. And then, look, guys, I would win these contests every single month. This was after years, though. This was after years and years of doing this. So I took second place that month. I was second place in the entire company. 300,000 distributors. I sucked at this business, guys. I sucked at it. I sucked at it really, really bad. But see, things kind of changed. Look at this is back in like 1997. You know, I got some checks. You know, I think this month we made like $7,000 worth of checks. Is like real paychecks that we had made. You know, not bad. You know, a few $1,000 a month back in those days. These were successful. Okay. But I'll tell you guys, I went through hell and high water to get these guys, hell and high water. And I had to function on faith. And one of the big things, and then you know what my mentor always told me, here I am on the phone right there. Guys, that's me on the phone. This month, what did I make that month? About $4,100 back in January of 1997. But what's cool is we were taught to go out and build our checks, but then we were taught to go out and build our people's checks. Okay. And then this one is, it says, Jerome, this has been an incredible first month after being a victim of downsizing. I thought would have to start all over again from the bottom, but thanks to the training advanced marketing seminars and your leadership, I was able to become a director and make a check in excess of $4,000. Thanks for all your help and leadership, Chris. You know, and so anyways, and then I have other testimonials from way back when, guys, you know, from way back when. And, you know, it all started with training. Oh, check it out, man. You guys haven't seen those bodybuilding pictures of me from way back in the day. Had some bodybuilding pictures on stage. Pretty cool. But it all started with training, guys. And one of the things I thought, oh yeah, here they are. Here they are, guys. Let me show you guys this, because first starts, you guys got to get trained in everything that you guys do in life. And watch, check it out. All these are like training slips from every training I ever went to, from basic building blocks, regional trainings. These are advanced marketing seminars. This is a basic building blocks. We had millionaire workshop, leadership training. And you guys are sitting back going, what does this have to do with anything? And there's just Journey Beyond Perception, 2 years of it. And there's just training after training after training after training. And the biggest thing, guys, is that one of the things that kept me going, I'm going to tell you guys a story that it was life transformational for me. And nobody understood like why I would put myself through this type of agony. And at the time, I didn't think it was agony. One of the things that I had in my mind was, when you talk so much crap to people, like you go out and you tell people you're going to get rich, right? And you get poisoned. Everybody offers their opinion that you're losing your mind. And so even like now, like we train people on how to go out and build houses. Like everywhere you look around, it's like there's houses going up and there's people making millions of dollars, there's developers making millions of dollars. But yeah, you weren't taught how to do that. You were taught to go to school, get a good job, and work for those people. Well, why not you guys? Like, why not? Why can't you guys go out and make that money? But yet people become skeptical that if it was that easy, why isn't everybody doing it? And the reality is, it's not that it's easy. It's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult, because making money is difficult when you don't know how to make it. But the thing is that we don't know that because we're not taught that in school. We're not taught how to go out and make money. So here's the thing, guys, is that when I first got started, I was ridiculed so much. I have a big mouth. I still have a big mouth. And I had a bigger mouth when I was younger. And when I'd go out and tell people that I was going to become successful financially, they would hate on me, because if I would have made it, which I did, it makes them jealous and it makes them feel like they failed, right? Now, faith plays an important part in this, guys. Because I remember growing up and I was a rambunctious kid. And one thing that my mom always told us is, she said, look, guys, God gives to you always, right? Always. God gives to you indefinitely. And you can't give God 1 hour every single week, like just 1 hour, just show up. And half the time we were goofing off in church. Like I'd be with my cousins, we'd be holding each other's hand, saying the Our Father in church. We grew up Catholic, and it was who could squeeze each other's hand the tightest. And then we try to smash each other's hand. We'd be holding each other's hand, but that, bam, smash it on the pew. But we were there. And even though we were goofing off half the time, trying not to laugh because we were harassing each other 90% of the time in church, we were there. We would show up with our bikes, we'd flip them upside down, and we'd line them up against the wall. In fact, we went to this church on Christmas Eve this year because we were going to a family party on that side of town. My wife and I, we never go to that church because we live on the whole other side of town. In fact, outside of town, on the north end. And we went back down to the south end of town and we went to church where I grew up. And I tell my kids, I was like excited. I was like, hey, we'd come in, we'd ride our bikes. It didn't matter if it rained, shine, and we just put our bikes upside down right here. The priest didn't even care. And then if we had our skateboards, we would line our skateboards up along that wall. And because we were setting ourselves up to go have fun. But there was a requirement to having fun. And there was a requirement to everything we did. And that was that our parents taught us that no matter what, if you stayed up late on a Saturday night, even in high school, going to a party, going to a club, whatever it was, you show up to mass every Sunday morning in just that 1 hour, guys. And I didn't know what this was doing for me at the time. I just did it because my parents made me do it, right? And a lot of you guys don't understand it. Maybe you guys weren't lucky enough to have a parent like that that really instilled faith into your life. I was fortunate enough to have that. And it played a big factor because when I first started in business, guys, I went through hell and high water. And I remember this one in particular. I have story after story after story after story, but I'll tell you guys this one story on how important faith is. This is one of the F's, right? So this is one of the 4 factors, guys. And so I'm going to go through all 4 of them for you guys tonight. So follow me here, guys. And I'll tell you guys some really interesting facts about me and stories that most of you guys haven't even heard. And you guys will enjoy this. It'll be a pleasure to you guys. So I was in Fairfax, Virginia. And I was broke, man. I mean, I was trying to get the business figured out. I met this kid that was there going to Virginia Tech, and he was in college. And he was on spring break. And he goes, I said, during spring break, let's go back to your hometown in Wheeling, West Virginia. And he goes, cool. I go, I'm going to help you drive your downline and all your friends and family, because we were in multi-level marketing at the time. And so we drive down to a regional training in Indianapolis, Indiana. We drive. Can't even afford gas, right? Can't even afford gas. Can't afford hotels. Can't afford any of that stuff. But we drive down to Indianapolis. We catch a regional training where I remember Allie Landry was there. She was she had just won the Miss USA pageant. We had like Ted Danson was there because he used to do he's a big advocate for Save the Oceans. And Dennis Weaver was there. Big environmentalist, philanthropist. And so we knew all these guys because they were sponsors. Dave Parker, the Dave Parker Foundation, a pro baseball player back in the 80s and 90s. And so we went to this regional training. From this regional training, we went down to Madison, Wisconsin, went through Chicago, drove down up to Madison, Wisconsin. And we spent 2 weeks there training, okay? And I driving sales teams. And didn't close a lot of volume, didn't make a lot of money, but was working it, right? Doing what it took. Okay, broke. We were sleeping at the bottom on a barn floor at the time. And so we just did whatever it took, right? And now one of the things that we landed up doing was we landed up going in and signing up a couple of distributors. Then it was time to go, and it was time to drive back to Virginia. Well, on our way back to Virginia, we drive back down through Chicago. We cut back over through Wheeling, West Virginia, and we're heading over to Fairfax, Virginia, right out of the DC Beltway. And we get a bad car accident, rollover accident 3.5 times in a 4Runner. Now, mind you, that 4Runner, I hadn't made a payment on it in 6 months because I was just trying to pay my office rent so that I was able to keep running my business. And we were broke, man. I was paying credit cards, and what I would do is, man, you know what's cool is I think I still have this checkbook. I keep this stuff, guys, because they're memorable items for me, and they just remind me, what I went through to get here. And so some people say, Jerome, you've hit massive success, you've gotten rich, you're so lucky. And I'm like, shit, man, I've had 30 years worth of doing it. Look, guys, it was this checkbook, guys. Check this out, guys. I don't know if you guys remember this bank, Norwest Bank. You guys remember Norwest Bank? Check this thing out, man. So I stuffed checks in here. Oh, I was already making a little bit of money here. This was in San Antonio. This even has my San Antonio address on it for back in the day. That was my old apartment at Henderson Pass in San Antonio. Pretty cool, right? So you guys, it's Henderson Pass in San Antonio. Well, I had a checkbook like this, and it might have even been, it wasn't this one at that time, but I would pay my credit cards, and I'd pay my credit cards. It's funny just looking at this check registry, and I'd pay them off. The check would bounce, and I'd max out the credit card again before my credit card company could shut it down again. So I'd be like, I had done that like 3-4 times. They didn't have the technology back then they have today to be able to just shut it off and then shut you down and be able to determine whether your check was going to go through. So back in those days, what would end up happening is I'd write off the entire credit card. I'd max it out again, or pull out cash advances, and then the check would bounce, and then I'd have double the balance, right? And then I do it again. And you were able to get away with doing that 2-3 times. So we were that's the way we put gas. That's the way we lived. That's the way we had to do everything because we didn't have the capital to do it. So we're coming back from Wheeling, West Virginia into Fairfax, Virginia, getting a bad car accident, hadn't made a payment on this 4Runner. And, I'm just trying to make it work. And I couldn't make it work. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was just trying to figure it out. There was 300,000 distributors. I was probably like number 300,000 out of 320 distributors, 320,000 distributors. So I was horrible at the business. And we landed up going up to the YMCA after we got in this bad car accident, right? Didn't have a way back home. And most people would have quit right there. Okay, we were already broke. We were already trying to figure out how to make next month's rent payments, trying to figure out how to make next week's ad payments, and how to make next month's phone payments just to keep our business going. Then we get in this bad car accident. Now we lose the vehicle that we had. And so we go down to the YMCA and we clean up, wash up and stuff. We're bloody because we got in this bad car accident, didn't really have a way out. Cops come down, they do their thing, they tow off the vehicle because it's completely totaled, dismantled. Stuff's flying all over the middle of the intersections, all over the place, in the middle of the interstate on the highway. And so State Highway Department comes, picks up everything they need to. We clean everything out of the vehicle, gets towed away. We put in our suitcases that we had for 2 weeks going out and trying to just make the business work. And so we land up going back over to the YMCA, cleaning up, and then we didn't have money to get back down to get a vehicle. And the only place we had a vehicle was in Albuquerque. And so I landed up going to the Catholic church down there because I was Catholic. And I had $500 in a savings account that I couldn't touch because you didn't have like debit cards readily available back in the mid-90s like you do today. And you didn't have the capabilities of just being able to get access to your money out of a savings account because it was a small little credit union. So I had I think it was actually like $800. I think I had $500 from this little piece of crap car I sold, plus $300 that I had in there, and I couldn't touch it. It was like a saving grace because I couldn't touch it. But I knew I had it. And I knew if I got back down to Albuquerque, we could get another vehicle to be able to drive back up to Fairfax, Virginia, which is a 33-hour drive. But we landed up taking Greyhound, and it was a 2-day trip back in town. So what would most people do? They would curl up into a ball and they would have quit right there, right? Like no money, your car just gets devoured. You don't even know how you're going to make payments to get to the next month. Now we go into the Catholic church and I tell the priest there, I said, look, we're heading back to Fairfax, Virginia. We got in this bad accident. We got to get back down to Albuquerque. There's a Greyhound bus. It's going to cost like $215 for each of us to get back down. So it was like $430 in order to get us back down. It was like 100 some, I don't know. It was more money than I had, right? It was a few $100s to get 2 people back down to Albuquerque. Now, the priest knew there was something fishy about the whole story, right? And fishy because we were just trying to make something taboo work, right? Like something that was not normal work. And we land up negotiating with him, and I told him, look, I'll write you a check. A check that had like a checkbook like that had no money in it. And I said, he goes, yeah, but at the end, he told me like this, because look, I'm going to do this because I like you. He goes, I trust you. Please don't prove me wrong. He tells me like that. He goes, I'm doing this because I believe in your story and I believe that you're a good person. And I believe that you're not lying to me that this check is going to go through. And I told him the Greyhound would not take our check, which they didn't. They weren't going to take our check, right? So they didn't take personal checks. So he lands up cutting us the price for the bus tickets on Greyhound. And I knew the check was going to bounce, right? So I have this guilt kind of hanging over me. And it's still part of doing what it takes, right, to make things work. But I knew I had that money in that bank account. So I said, okay, once I get back to Albuquerque, I'm going to pull that money out. I'm going to send this priest a thank you card, and I'm going to send it back to him. So for 2 days, we ride it back down on Greyhound. Because Greyhound, they stop at every freaking town, everywhere between here and Timbuktu to get from point A to point B. Every small town you've never wanted to go to or never need to go to in your life, that's where Greyhound goes to, and that's where they stop. Now, we had these cell phones back then with the big flip phones. We were past the brick days, like the big brick. We had these big flip phones. And so I'd open up this big flip phone, and it was if you use that phone, you would spend about $800, $900 a month in just service charges because of how expensive cellular service was back in those days. So I'm on this phone, right? And I know I'm driving up this phone bill, but I was like, screw it. I'm going to drive up this phone bill. I'm going to get as many people into the Albuquerque office, because that was the office I got started in. And I'm going to drive as many distributors into that Saturday training as possible. This was during the week. So we were back 2 days. We got back on a Friday night, set everything up so that we would be successful, having a room full of people on Saturday morning. Wasn't worried about the accident, right? Like, that was behind me. And most people dwell, right? Like, most people dwell on what's behind them, and they can't even focus on moving forward because they're looking at yesterday. They're sitting back. You're going this direction over here. Like, I'm talking to you guys, right? Like, look at this. I'm talking to you guys. But if I turn my back on you and I focus on this, I give you guys no attention whatsoever. Because so most people function on what's behind them when all the attention that you need in life needs to be right in front of you. Right in front of you, guys. You have to focus on what's in front of you. And one of the big things is that most people, they never function on what's in front of them. They're so busy functioning on what's behind them that they never ever function on what's in front of them. So look, ladies and gentlemen, here's the big thing is that when you guys are doing stuff, you got to focus on what's in front of you, guys, not what's behind you. So what was in front of me was that Saturday training. That's not the whole story. This story is really good. Finish listening to this whole story. So we get back to Albuquerque. I have like 200 people I've called, and I'm going, man, if I can get 50 people in the seats, I'm going to have a successful Saturday training. So I call like 200 and some people. I mean, I'm living on that phone, just boom, boom, calling people. And I call 200 plus people. And I'm just pounding the phones. Say, hey, you guys need to be in the Saturday training. I'm coming back into town, blowing myself up. I'm a nobody, right? But I'm like blowing myself up. I'm coming back to town. You're going to get rich. We're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like selling. Just trying to make it happen, right? Get back down to Albuquerque, and we roll into that Saturday training, no vehicle, and we go in and we pound that Saturday training. We land up closing about $20,000 in sales volume, which equivalates to me at about a $3,500 paycheck, right? $3,500 to $4,000. And then plus what we did before. So I had like this $4,500, $5,000 paycheck that was going to be coming, but we worked it. So we think, okay, cool. We got through that piece. Okay. So now next piece. I land up with this little tiny Toyota 4x4 that had been wrecked on the side door. The side door's kind of smashed in, but it was a good little Toyota 4x4. So I was like, okay. And I go, do you think this thing will make it back to Virginia? It's a 33-hour drive. It was a little bit older Toyota 4x4, but it was a Toyota, right? So like this Toyota can make it. So we land up going in, and I drive this thing about 3 hours out of town after the Saturday training. And I'm going out there 33 hours all by myself, okay? So the friends that I was with, that was one of my distributors, stays behind in Albuquerque, closing up volume. And I land up going to drive back. Now, this truck, the transmission goes out in this truck, guys. The transmission goes out in this truck about 3 hours out of town. Now, it works just enough that it's slipping, but I'm like, man, I know I'm not going to make it the additional 30 hours with this transmission. I have a better shot of making it back in town with this transmission. Now, the good news is it was a stick shift. And if you guys know anything about driving stick shifts with a clutch, is you don't really need the clutch. And if the transmission's going out, you can do what you call speed shifting like big truck drivers do, and they still do it today. And so I speed shift this vehicle all the way back, drop it back off at Toyota. Now I'm in town for the rest of like 3 days while the transmission's getting fixed. So what I do is I work. Then I do the opposite. Now I know I'm going back to Virginia. So now I'm working up for the next Saturday training in Virginia, and I have to get there in 48 hours in order to make the Saturday training. So guess what I do? I go in the Albuquerque office. I'm pounding the phones, calling all my old distributorship. And then I drive out 32 hours. Now, when we get the truck out, guess how I get the truck out? Didn't have the paycheck yet, didn't have the money yet. I pull out my old handy checkbook, I write a check for it, right? Because I'm trying to make it work. Guys, most people would have already quit by now. Okay, so I write a check for it. Knew the check was going to bounce. Problem was that these people knew the family that was helping me. And I was like going, oh my God, I paid off the priest. Now I'm going back. And I wrote the priest this really nice letter when I got back. And I said, look, Father, I said, look, Father, I said, I lied to you and I apologize for that, but I want to thank you. And I hope that your kindness goes further than what you did, and that you find my sincere apology behind the fact that I had an intent to pay you and I knew that check was going to bounce, but it was my only way to get back. And I knew that if I told you I had the money in the account, you would have never thought I would have sent you this check that I'm sending you right now, and you went and bought our tickets. So forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, right? Please forgive me for what I have done, right? Like I'm going through confession on a piece of paper. And so I send this to him and I send the check. Now I do the exact same thing to the car dealership. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like one hole after another of dishonesty that you're doing to try to get to an endpoint, right? So I land up going through and I get I get the truck back, get the transmission back. Now I'm on my way to Virginia, pounding out, just flying, not sleeping for an hour here and there in rest stops, driving 33 hours straight all the way to Fairfax, Virginia to get back for this Saturday training. Now I get back to Virginia, okay, 33 hours later. When I get back, I get to my house, all my stuff's gone. It's like boxed up because the landlord, we hadn't paid the rent yet. It was the end of the month, hadn't paid the rent. Landlord boxes up my stuff, has it by the door. Now, I didn't get a chance to go through all my stuff because the landlord had all my stuff boxed up. Now, some of you guys are thinking, okay, well, Jerome, what does this have to do with real estate? Everything. It has everything to do with success in business and real estate, okay? Because you never give up, guys. And it's all goes with faith because I knew I had the faith that I said, okay, God, I know you're going to give me a bone, right? Like, give me a bone. And so I get back, I couldn't go through all my stuff, but then I noticed the stuff was missing. And I was thinking, okay, where's my stuff? Then I started realizing when I went upstairs and my TV was gone, someone was like, okay, someone stole all my stuff. Someone had broken into my house, and not only did my landlord box my stuff up, but now someone took my stuff. So I called the landlord, and the landlord goes, no, Jerome, we just took everything. Everything should be right there. Well, lo and behold, there was a couple that we had rented the basement to. They knew we were gone. They knew because they were in our office. And so if you guys knew me back in that day, I weighed 200 pounds. I was a bodybuilder, and I was, and my shoulders were even broader than they are now. And I was, and I'm 5'4", and I'm thinking, okay, who would take my suits, right? So my suits were gone, and I'm thinking, okay, who in the hell would take my suits? So my suits were gone, and I was thinking there was this one guy, this guy Jeff, and I was like, this guy, I know took my stuff. Okay. So anyways, I'm angry. I go down, I find this guy, Jeff, get into a boxing altercation with him. And I end up getting all my stuff back, most of it. And I'm throwing stuff in the car. It's like a movie, right? Like this whole thing happens in less than 24 hours, guys. Like all this stuff is going, the sequence of events happens, right? So then after all this happens, they land up calling the cops. I go back to my apartment. I'm showering up. I'm on the phone. I'm telling one of my distributors what happened. And I'm trying to get all this stuff together for this training. Then all of a sudden, ding, 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 ding. Cops come to the door. And then, so now I'm in trouble, right? And then I go, okay, well, if I'm going to be in trouble, I'm going to counter charge them for breaking and entering. So now I have to go through all this legal stuff of trying to get all this stuff dialed in. I'm stuck there for 2 weeks. So I'm going through all this legal stuff. And now I'm sitting back trying to make enough money just to get through 2 weeks. So I had no more money because my check hadn't come in, but I had water filters. And so every day, and then I ended up getting kicked out of my apartment. So now I'm living under my desk in my office, and I had an office full of product, and I had a cabinet. Pulled out everything out of one cabinet. I put a blanket, an alarm clock, and a pillow in the cabinet, and then I kept everything in a back closet piled up while I was waiting to be able to get back down. And now we were going to go down, open up an office in El Paso. But I'm still in Virginia. I'm stuck down there because I have to deal with all this legal stuff. And most people are sitting back going, Jerome, when are you going to quit? Like, you're going through all this mad craziness. And mind you, this is in less than a 2-week period, right? All of this craziness in less than a 2-week period. And most people would be sitting back going, God's talking to you. He's telling you to quit. Like, why would you put yourself through all this agony, right? And I remember this girl, Kim, comes to me and goes, Jerome, she goes, why don't you just quit, man, and just go back and get a job or something? And I go, I'll never quit. I'll never quit. I'm going to make this work. I know I can make this work, right? And so I have this persistence, right? Because I have faith. I go, you know what? I know I can make this work. I know I'm going to make this work. I can't quit. I can't fail. I'm going to make this work. I'm never going to give up. I'm going to make this work. Okay. Now, mind you, we're like 2 years into this deal already, maybe 3, right? Like I'm going on year number 3 here, 2.5 years struggling, ups and downs, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. Most people go through one valley and they quit. It's like life circumstances hit the ceiling, and like I quit, like one little obstacle in their life, and it's too much for them. And that's where most people fail, is that they give up, right? So I land up going back in, and everything works out legally, right? But it takes 2.5 weeks. Meantime, I don't have a place to live, so I'm sleeping on the floor. and I was the first one at the office, last one to leave, and I'm doing briefings, and I'm sitting up in front of a room with a suit and tie on every single day, selling my opportunity, selling my opportunity. At the end of the day, I take off, go to the gym. I didn't even have a membership because I couldn't afford a membership, so I'd walk into the Gold's Gym, tell the guy at the front desk, yo, what's up? I got his name tag, right? His name's Mikey. Hey, yo, what's up, Mikey? What's up? How you doing today? I give him a high five. I'm like, yo, brother. I said, he goes, yeah, it's good, man. How are you, Jerome? How was your day today? I'm like, cool, bro. I'm doing real good. And I was so confident, I would just walk straight through. Didn't even have a membership, and he wouldn't even question me. I didn't even ping my card. I didn't do nothing. But I'd walk through, I'd go work out, and then I would go and shower up at the Gold's Gym. And then I would go back and I'd sleep on the floor. And I couldn't even afford food. So I knew all the continental breakfasts at all the little hotels right around the area of my office. So in the morning, I'd wake up, I'd get cleaned up real quick. I'd go down to a continental breakfast, pick up some oatmeal, pick up some toast and jelly, and I'd eat a little bit. And I had this little crock pot I bought, and I'd put some beans in there, and I'd make beans, and I'd make like rice and make little stuff so that I was eating healthy. Okay, that's number two, guys. During this entire time, I continued lifting, I continued working out, and I continued eating healthy, guys, in spite of everything I had going on. Because I go to the continental breakfast, I get a banana, I get an apple, I take that stuff with me for lunch, I get some granola bars, get my little yogurt and stuff, all the same stuff they still have at continental breakfast today. They had back then, guys, same thing. So I would go and I get all that stuff, and that's how I lived, guys, for several weeks. And then when we were done at the office, after my trainings, I would go and knock on doors. Say, hey, my name is Jerome. I had this story, right? Hey, we're working in partnership with George Washington University, and I'm on an internship program. And I made this big story up about how we're marketing water filters, and we're doing water tests, and how bad the water was, and how there's chlorine in it, right? And I went to I don't know how many houses, guys, over the course of 2 weeks. I knocked on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doors, just going door to door, because I didn't have gas money to get back home. And I still hadn't got my paycheck, remember? Because this now is all within a 3-week period of time. And all that lands up happening is about a 4-week period of time, which finally, when I finally leave Virginia, I have a paycheck waiting for me back home, okay, for about $4,000, $4,500. Now, that's the money I need to open the office. Now, mind you, I don't have a vehicle yet, and the vehicle I'm in isn't my vehicle. When I get back home, I have to have that vehicle back. So I have to go in and I buy this old beat-up Volkswagen Bug that was upside down, literally upside down, rusted, in the middle of a buddy of mine's yard. And he had extra paint because my friend Rob used to paint cars. And so they're supposed to be building this car for me when I was out of town when I got back. It wasn't going to cost me no money. It was just old extra parts. We did all the legwork on it. And I was going to have this Volkswagen Bug. So now we're in Virginia, right? I finally sell off a couple water filters, make enough money to get back with gas. Now, gas, mind you, is about $1 a gallon at that point in time. And so I land up going back in, and I'm successful getting that sold off. All the legal stuff goes in my favor, and I land up going back out to Albuquerque, and I drive 33 hours back in town. Now, I get back. I'm supposed to open up an office that following Monday, but I wanted to hit a Saturday training in Albuquerque. So now it's the middle of the week. I'm driving back down to Albuquerque, and I have 33 hours straight all the way down. I land up getting back into Albuquerque at like 1 o'clock in the morning, had to wake up, shower up, clean up, and do a training that next morning in the Albuquerque office. Now, when I get back, I'm expecting a car. Right? I get back. Guess where the car is? It's still upside down, still rusted. Nothing's been done. I have to be in El Paso on Monday. I land up doing the Saturday training. Right after the Saturday training, we're putting a car together in hyperspeed. We literally put the car together, drop an old motor in there, tune it up a little bit, throw some spark plugs, some gasoline. The seats still have springs on them. I literally get pillows, put them on there. I go to Pep Boys, buy these seat covers because I finally got my check in. Now, I lease an office during this whole time down in El Paso, Texas, and sight unseen. If you guys, anybody from El Paso, if you go down to Yarborough and Vista del Sol, right off of the Yarborough exit, right off of I-10, you exit right there. There's a Walmart. There's a Winter Schnitzel. Right behind the Winter Schnitzel was my office. That was my office right there, sight unseen. It used to be an old Blockbuster Video. Well, in that was where we had leased it. It was just an empty building. All I had seen was pictures that they had sent to me. And mind you, emails weren't big back then. So they're having a fax picture. So I'm looking at these black and white faxes, right? Because emails were barely coming out. Remember, the internet wasn't a thing until 2006. This was like the internet wasn't something until 1996. This was like 1995. So the internet didn't even exist yet. There was no emails. So they're sending pictures through a fax machine to me. Okay. So they're sending me pictures through a fax machine. So I'm looking at these black and white, all smudged pictures of this building. I'm like, okay, that'll work. And so I signed this lease and I'm driving out there, and now I don't have a car. So after my Saturday training at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we start working on this car. Now, I have ads running on Monday morning in El Paso, okay? So I have to put this car together, put it all together, and I need a way to get out to El Paso. Truck goes back to them, do a Saturday training, start working on my check for the next month. Now, I put this car together. He paints it blue, mixes a bunch of colors together, paints it this metallic blue. I get these seat covers, put them over the pillows, and I tint the windows, because that's what I used to do when I was younger, was tint windows to make extra money. I tint these windows double 5%, okay? And so they're black. You can't even look in the car. The car's ugly as hell inside. Doesn't have upholstery, but the outside looked kind of trick. It looked kind of nice. Front fenders rub when you drive the car, because the tires I put on there were these centerline rims and tires. Look kind of trick, but I landed up putting these centerline tires, and when the car's dropped on the front end, and when I'm driving that sucker, it's creating friction and heat, and they're starting to smoke. So I don't even tell my parents I'm in town, because every creditor in the world was already looking for me. So if I would have told my parents I was in town, they would have held me hostage, and they would have called all the creditors and said, hey, come get him. Here's my son. Here he is. He ain't taking care of his responsibilities. Take him. And that's what they would have done. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to mom and dad's house, because mom and dad will throw me under the rug here, right? And I'd have all chaos break loose. So I'm like, okay, no one knows what's going on. Don't have anybody to confide in. Have to live through all of this all by myself mentally, right? How do you get this strength? Faith, guys, faith. I just knew it was going to work, guys. I knew it was going to work. So, but I didn't know how. I didn't know when. I didn't know what my break point was. All I knew was nothing was going to stop me, right? You guys ever hear that song? Nothing will stop me. It's all the way up, right? People listening like, yeah, it's all the way up. It's all the way up. Yeah, you don't know what all the way up is unless you've been on the bottom, guys. You don't know what all the way up is. Most of you guys on here have it too comfortable. That's the problem, is that most of you guys are too comfortable. And I'm not telling you guys to give up everything and go through hell and high water like I did, but it worked for me, right? Like, that's where I went, all the way down. There's no place but up from where I was at, okay? Now, I got blessed that night, because the night I had to take off, which was that Sunday night, I worked on this car for 2 days. Sunday night, I had to get back over there, right? And I landed up postponing my ads to go into Tuesday, because I wasn't going to have it ready. Now, we landed up going in. No, I didn't postpone my ads. We actually did a briefing while we were painting. So we landed up going all the way out there. I go to this Walmart, spend a little bit of the $40-some-hundred check that I got. I go to Walmart, buy some chairs to put in this office, and I buy a whiteboard. And I leave the whiteboard on the floor, and I have these Sharpie markers. And I buy all these 5-gallon pails of paint from the Walmart across catty corner to where my office was at. And I drive all the way out to El Paso, right? Now, remember, my tires aren't working. Now, right before I leave on Sunday, I'm driving all excited with my new car, and the whole wheel flies off, guys. Like, the whole tire, whole wheel, everything flies off, literally. And sparks are coming out. My drum hits the ground on the back tire. Rear tire flies off. I'm like, oh, shit. Pull over to the side of the road. I'm chasing my tire down the road. I go get my tire. I don't have a jack. Now I'm running back up the road, because I don't have any way to get back to a friend's house that lived up the street that I was leaving from. And I have to borrow a jack. And I'm running down the street, sweating my ass off, mind you. Running down with a jack and a toolbox, because I didn't know what wrench size I needed. So I have a toolbox and a jack, and I'm running down with a toolbox and a jack, running down the street for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 blocks. And I'm sweating profusely. Okay. So now I'm jacking in my truck, my car. My car's halfway in the road. I can't even get it off the road because I stopped. Then so cars are honking. Cars are honking. I have to leave it there. And I run back up. I run back down. It seemed like eternity to get back down there. So I get back down there, jack up the car, put the tire back on, tied it back up. And it was the hub was on wrong. So I had to fix all that right there. Cars are honking at me. People are throwing me fingers. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. I'm like, yeah, you can stop and help. Yeah, it helps me a lot. Yeah, they're honking and throwing me fingers, right? Instead of stopping to help. Nobody stops and helps me. So I fix the car. And now I throw it all in the back seat, drive back up, drop off all the tools again. Now I take back off. Okay. Now I sit back and now I'm worried, because I'm like, these tires, as I'm going and rubbing on the front, they're and there's the rubbing, right? So I get back down to the other side of town, and there's chunks of tire coming out of the tires from the front fenders rubbing. And I was like, oh my God, I can't make it 4 hours to El Paso with this car like this. Like, I'm going to get a blowout before I get back down there, right? So I sit back, and now I don't have windshield wipers, because the windshield wiper gauge doesn't even work I don't have windshield wipers anymore. Now everything's closed. Pep Boys was the big auto place at that point in time. But even if I would have put windshield wipers in the car, the windshield wiper thing didn't work. Remember, it's an old rusted car upside down. So now it starts pouring rain. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't have windshield wipers. It's pouring rain. Got to drive 4 hours to El Paso. I have to get there because I have people coming in for this briefing tomorrow that I'm doing for the company, right? So I land up driving down. It's pouring rain. Thank God it was pouring rain. I go and get this little green can of turtle wax. And I pull under, I wax my window. And I wipe it all down because I saw this little trick. And now the water just runs up your window. I don't even need windshield wipers because I wax my window. Throw the turtle wax in there, pack everything I had, all my prized possessions in these duffel bags, stuff it in the back of this Volkswagen Bug, and that's where I leave to El Paso with. Now, because it was pouring rain, when I say pouring rain, guys, I'm talking pouring cats and dogs. And it was a blessing because the front tires, the rainwater actually wore against the friction on my front tires. So I landed up saving my tires. I didn't get a blowout the entire way because it was just the rainwater was softening the friction and heat off the tires. And I was able to make it all the way to El Paso. Thank God it rained from Albuquerque to El Paso. I drove all the way down there with these tires that were way too big for the car. And I thought I was going to get a blowout for sure. And I didn't have time to make adjustments, didn't have time to do any of that stuff. So I roll into El Paso. I have to pull over the bridge under a bridge 2 different times to dry off the window and then wax the window again. And then that way the water would keep running off of it, right? I had to do that 2 times on the way over. So I get to El Paso. I'm like, it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning now. And so I get into El Paso and we go straight to the office. I don't even sleep. I land up going straight to the office. And one of the ladies that was part of our distributorship came down. She had bought the paint for me. I'd given her paint. Now they had started painting. Now we had to paint this thing and get this office going. We had this empty building and we didn't have any type of help, but there was a few of us that went down together, and I landed up recruiting people from Albuquerque to go down there and help us. Okay. Now, mind you, if you guys didn't listen to the story before, you guys are going to want to go back on YouTube or wherever you watch us and then hit hashtag repeat and let me know that you guys watched this video from the beginning because I tell the whole story, right? So like now the story seems easy. Like this is the easier part of the story. This is where the gratifying part comes in. And some of you guys are going, damn, this is the gratifying part, Jerome. This is like hell. Why would you even go through this, right? So like you guys listen to the beginning of this story, you just sit back and go, holy shit, Jerome, like this is crazy. So then I get to El Paso. We're working on painting all these walls. I land up going back. I didn't even have a place to stay. There was this guy named Jeff that was super cool, Jewish dude, culturally way different, kind of a little different. Just like I had never been around a Jewish person like that before. Love the guy. Became one of my best friends. And I'll tell you, he was living like the Amish with candles because he couldn't afford electricity either because he was also working the business as well. I go to his apartment, no hot water. Now it's the middle of winter. And so we land up, it wasn't winter yet. It was like end of summer, moving into fall. And so had no electricity, but had cold water. It wasn't winter yet. Now I lived through El Paso that winter, but it was the end of summer. So it was still tail end of summer moving in. Now we're like in September, moving into October, getting into the colder months. And so I land up showering at this guy's place really quick. Go back to the office. I do a briefing on the floor with paint on me, building the dream, right? Most people are sitting back going, Jerome, I can't do that, man. Like the office is not ready. Things aren't right. I'm sitting back going, who cares, man? We got this office, baby. Now I'm building a dream, right? I'm going, hey, guys, we're going to be rich. We're going to sell these water filters. One day you're going to pay more for bottled water than you do for gasoline. And if you guys think about it right now, we were telling people this. And how much do you guys pay for a liter of water? Right? Like $2 for a liter of water at the convenience store. Well, ladies and gentlemen, how much is a gallon of gas? There's 4 liters. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Gasoline ain't $8 a gallon, guys. We're paying more for bottled water than we are for gasoline. Back then, they thought we were crazy, but I'm selling the dream, right? So I get in front of the room and say, we're going to do this incredible office. We're going to have speakers up here, and we're going to do this, that, and the other. And boom, I'm building the dream, and I'm selling, man. Boom, 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 boom. Doing my briefing, selling my stuff. So you guys should come back in, recruited a couple people out of our ads with the dream. Come back and paint with us. We're going to paint all night. We're going to build this office, be a part of our ground up opportunity, right? So then a couple people buy it, like, and they take it. And I'm like, cool. We just recruited free labor, right? And so now more people are painting the walls. We're getting it up. We have a Tuesday training. We're going back in. We're rolling blue paint on one wall, green paint on another wall. We're setting up a little thing. We go and buy a little bit of lumber. We build this little display thing where we throw over some like fabric from Fabric World, and we build this nice little display with some fake plants, put a little bit of our products up there, mount the whiteboard to the wall. We throw out some folding chairs from Walmart next door. We throw everything. We put build these desks, these cheap desks, put in some phone lines, and baby, we have an office. Right? We have an office. It is business time. The rest of the office is God, sin, ugly. Haven't even got to the bathrooms yet, but we're building a business. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a week later, my motor goes out of my car. I spent all the money going in this office. A week goes by. I am 3 more weeks away from a paycheck, guys. Now I have to live broke for 3 more weeks. Okay. And I'm just sitting back going, good gosh, man. Like, man, when is this going to end, man? Like, I devoured all of this, invested everything. Most people are sitting back going, Jerome, I don't have no money. I'm like, man, I take all the money that I have, $4,000, boom, and I put it all into it. And I'd roll the dice again, man. I'd be like, let's go, baby. And I would just roll it all back into the business, knowing that if I invested in myself, invested in my business, that at some point in time, faith, guys, faith, I get to the finish line. I didn't know what the finish line looked like. I didn't know. But I would tell you now, a week after this, man, I was like 2 weeks away from the end of the month before I can get a paycheck. And I'm just, I land up calling my buddy Louie, who, and my cousin Mark, who are my closest friends in the entire world. And they come down, right? And he's supposed to help me rebuild the motor on this bug. But instead they go to Juarez, Mexico, and they go get drunk and go party, leave me flat. And then they get mad at me because all I want to do is work and fix my car and get it going. And meanwhile, they just want to go down to Juarez and party. So they disappear down to Juarez. I land up with a broken car. They're mad at me. They go back to Albuquerque pissed that I'm a jerk. And I'm still stuck with this broken car, right? And so I remember I couldn't even afford to take someone out on a date if I wanted to. I couldn't even go to a damn dollar movie. I couldn't afford gas. I couldn't afford anything, man. Every dollar went right back into my business. And so I'm doing the same thing, going for continental breakfasts in El Paso, every single hotel off of I-10 at Lee Trevino, Yarborough, everything, every single exit. I'm going to every single continental breakfast. They all knew me, right? Same little crock pot, just feeding the beast, right? Just making it work, just making it happen, right? And one night I remember walking, and there was a Catholic church that was down there, and the vegan mother was there, and I went and sat down and just prayed. I remember walking over there, and I was down and out on myself, like a lot of you guys have been at times that you guys were going through a lot of hard stuff as well. And most people haven't went through some of the hard times that I had to go through in business. They would have just quit. They would have went back to mom and dad. They would have went back, got a job. Like, why put yourself through this agony, right? Like, why? Like, who in the right mind would put themselves through this agony? Like, doesn't make sense. I came from a good family. My parents would have helped me rebound. I could have went back to college. I only had 1 year left, a couple semesters. Why? Why would I put myself through this agony, right? Because I had 2 things, too much pride and a big ass ego. And I knew I could make it, guys, and I wasn't going to fail. And I had failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, but I had faith. And so I landed up going back in, and I remember praying that night, and I remember crying like a little baby when I sat down. And I remember just pleading with God, and I was like, look, God, I was like, I don't know what else to do, man. I've been at this business for 3 years. I suck at it. I've done everything I can. I went to training after training after training after training after training after training. And I don't know what to do, what am I doing wrong? Scales of balance, trying to give back, trying to do good, trying to do all this stuff. And I said, God, just give me a bone, give me a bone, just do something. And I remember crying like a baby, just feeling like, man, not feeling sorry for myself, just like disappointed in myself, not feeling sorry for myself, just truly disappointed in myself, just sitting back thinking like, damn, all this stuff, like how did I get this far deep in it? Now, at this point in time, guys, I was over $100,000 in debt, right? $106,000 in debt to be exact. Okay. $106,000 in debt. Remember, this is like 1995. Okay. So think about it. 1995, $100,000 in debt. That's like $1 million in today's money. And my whole thing was like, I can't just go get a friggin' job and pay that off. Like, I'm going to be in debt the rest of my friggin' life. So I'm sitting back going, shit, I got to make this shit work. Right. And so I'm sitting back going, oh God, I was like, man, like, I don't have a choice, man. Like, I got to get this working. Like, just give me a bone, God. Like, please, like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I don't know. I can't do anymore. I got so mad at myself that night. That was the night that was my turning point. I'll remember that night for the rest of my life, because I remember that night crying like a baby, not feeling sorry for myself, mad at myself. I was mad at me. I had failed myself. It wasn't the opportunity. Other people were successful in it. Most people go out there and they blame everybody else, right? They blame everybody else, but they never take accountability for their own actions. I failed myself because I didn't have it right up here, guys. I didn't have it right out here up here. I had the fitness side. I was still working out. And this whole time, I was still working out. I had faith, guys. I didn't have a family yet. And family is one of the most important things in this world, guys. Friends and family, but I didn't have that stuff yet. But I leveraged the friends I did have to exercise everything that I was doing, guys. It was my faith that kept me going, my believability, but I was limited in my beliefs. And most people, the reason they don't make it isn't the opportunity isn't right. It's that you guys don't feel that you're worthy of success. You are your biggest demise. Each and every one of you guys out here. How do I know? Because I was my biggest demise. I was the reason for my failure. It wasn't anything else but me. I didn't believe that I was worthy of the success that was coming to me. And because of my limited beliefs, I was okay living in like chaos. And it was chaos after chaos after chaos after chaos. That night I got pissed at myself and I said, Jerome, you're not going to live like this anymore. You're not going to do it, man. Like, this is bullshit. You're not going to do it. Like, it's done. You're done. You're done living like this. You believe in this opportunity, someone else is going to believe in this opportunity. You bit this hook, line, and sinker. You believe it, and you know this is working for other people. And you know it's going to work for you. Other people are. That day, I changed. That next morning, when I woke up, I said, that's it. I'm friggin' done. I'm going to fucking go at this thing, and I'm going to make this shit happen. And I went in with a different Jerome that next day. I had the confidence before. No one else. I put a big good guy's facade on. But you know what? Everybody believed that Jerome was going to be successful except for the most important person, and that was me. I still had the belief that I wasn't worthy of that success until that night. And I was so angry at myself. There was a little pitch in everything, in my entire attitude, my entire existence. I went back that next day, and from that day forward, I started closing volume and closing volume. I said, I will always be the number one distributor in every friggin' office I ever go into. I will never live broke ever again, ever again. And I went back that next day, and I found a mom that her son was on Ritalin, and our products helped get him off. She believed in me. I went back. I found this other gentleman. His name was Ray, and he was in the military. He had just gotten out. He became another one of my distributors. And I went to work, and I drove these people to success, and I started helping them make paychecks. And I remember getting another $4,800 check. And I remember going back, and I landed up buying this little piece of junk black Nissan pickup truck. And it wasn't a piece of junk. It was just a little 4-cylinder, 4-banger, guys. A little 4-cylinder Nissan truck. Flew back to Albuquerque, went to a dealership where I knew one of the GMs, and I gave him $2,500 for a $4,000 truck. Drove this little 4-banger back to El Paso, revving it up before it only had 4 speeds. And I remember the RPMs just dialing up, man, over 3,000 RPMs when you got over 75. And that thing was just, and I was just driving down. And I drove that sucker all the way back down to El Paso. And I said, okay, I worked at El Paso for a couple more months. And I built a couple good distributors. And I said, okay, I'm going to go work in Jacksonville, Florida. And listen to this, guys. This is where I really went big, guys. This is when I really went big, guys. I was in El Paso, Texas, and I worked at El Paso for another 2 or 3 months, and I got these guys getting paychecks. And I had this little Nissan truck. It was like that Nissan truck was like the relief of everything for me, because I was like, okay, I got a vehicle that's reliable. Okay. That took some stress off of me. And I ended up literally just leaving the Volkswagen Bug in the parking lot of the apartment complex. I was like, screw that car. I'm done with that car. There it is. Live there, whatever. Okay. And so actually, I think I sold it for like $100 or $200 to one of the guys in the apartment complex. I thought it looked kind of cool. And so I land up going and signing a lease on an office in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, my distributor calls me up and she goes, Jerome, there's a gentleman, his name's Darren Scott, that wants you to go to San Antonio. And Darren was one of the top money earners in the company at that time. And my buddy Darren, who's one of my mentors, he calls me up. He out-earned Darren. Darren. Dale calls me. He goes, Jerome, he goes, go be leadership in the Jacksonville office. Then Darren calls me up and he goes, Jerome, I understand that you're thinking of going to either San Antonio or Jacksonville. And I go, yeah. And I sold him on the fact that I was going to go to Jacksonville. And he goes, Jerome, he goes, if you don't come to San Antonio, it'll be the worst decision you've ever made in your life. Boop, it just hangs up on me. I'm like, I was like, who the hell does this guy think he is, right? Well, he was one of the top distributors, top money earners. So I'm calling Dale, and I said, hey, Darren just called me, and I felt privileged that he had called me at that time. And I go, he's one of the top distributors. He goes, and Darren told me that if I didn't go to San Antonio, it was gonna be the worst decision I've ever made in my life. And Dale goes, what are you gonna do? And I said, I want to go to Jacksonville and be leadership. I want to be the badass. And he goes, why don't you do this? He goes, why don't you go to San Antonio and go kick his ass? Not like physically, right? Like in sales. He goes, why don't you go to San Antonio and just whoop his ass? Just go kick his ass and go outperform him. I said, and I go, you know what? You're right. And he goes, I know I'm right. Get your ass to San Antonio. Boom, hangs up on me. So I call my upline. I go, Angie. I go, what? I go, so I'm telling her the story. She's like, so what are you going to do? And she goes, I'm still thinking of going to Jacksonville. She goes, Jerome, don't be stupid. Boom, hangs up on me. I'm like, shit. So I pack all my shit, go up to San Antonio. I made myself that day. I made myself a commitment. I said, when I get to San Antonio, I'm going to kick his ass. I'm going to kick everybody's ass that's in that friggin' office. I'm not going to let anybody do more volume than me. But I already had this transition from what happened in El Paso. So I drive into San Antonio and I go into an office with some leadership, and we're building desks again, We're putting this office together. Me, my buddy, this guy, Mark Crevishane, my buddy, Rick, myself, Sean Holderbaum, Darren Scott, and this girl, Ruby, and one other girl. I can't remember her name anymore. Anyway, so we're building desks. We put this office together, and they buy this little trophy, this little glass trophy. And this little glass trophy, Darren goes, look, guys, let's compete. Whoever does the most sales volume, this trophy will sit on their desk for the month. And at the end of every volume month, this trophy lands up sitting on that person's desk. So I was like, that fucking trophy will never leave my desk ever. I said, I'm going to win that trophy. I'm going to kick all their ass, because I had this. Dale Corson, one of my mentors, he was sitting and goes, Jerome, go in there and you kick their ass. I was like, yeah, I'm going to kick their ass. You know, when I was a wrestler, so I was like, yeah, we're going to kick their ass. So then I get on those phones and I start pounding them. Now I have 2 phone lines, making a little bit of money. So now I double down on my ads. I double down on my phones, and I'm sitting back going, hello, this is Jerome. How can I help you? Hold on, please. Hello, this is Jerome. How can I help you? Hold on, please. And boom, boom, boom. I'm double fisting phones, guys. Phones, right? I'm double fisting the phones, and I'm sitting back. Everybody's going to lunch. I'm sitting back. I never leave the office. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go to Easy's to pick up a burrito. I'm like, cool. Here's $3. Can you get me a burrito too? Boom, 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 boom. They'd leave. Phones ring, phones ring, phones ring, phones ring. Then it'll come to my phone. Hello, it's Jerome. How can I help you? And I would take all of their business, because I never left that office. I would sit there, and I never left that office. And I started working. Boom, end of first month, trophy sits on my desk, closed over $30,000 in personal volume, land up getting an $8,000 check, biggest check I'd ever gotten in the company. And I land up becoming an executive director in the company, get promoted to the next position. Now they start having these contests. See you at the top, go for the gold. I'm winning Bahamas trips. I'm winning trips to Hawaii. I'm winning marlin fishing trips in the Panama Canal. And I'm just sitting there on those phones, guys. And I'm like a vengeance to be reckoned with. And I'm just boom, 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 boom. Ladies and gentlemen, it was that night in El Paso. Sat there for 6 months, lived the distributorship. Then I go to Jacksonville. Now I leave that office filled with my people. The only month that trophy never left my desk was the last month that I was there, and I lost the contest. You know who had that trophy that month? A gentleman by the name of Eric Wolf. He was one of my distributors. It went from my desk to one of my distributors' desks, and I said, there you go, baby. You just won the volume month. Now you take over your leadership. It's time for you to kick ass. I'm going to Jacksonville. I go to Jacksonville. I do the exact same thing. Now I become a trainer with the company. I'm going. And that picture I showed you guys in the beginning was me in Orlando doing a training, my first training up on stage with this gentleman named Rich Vaughn. This was me doing that training. It was my first training that I ever did. And this is me and Rich. We landed up accidentally wearing the exact same suit. Look at us, black shirt, same suit. And that man mentored me. I went on stage with that guy that day. Okay. And that was the first training that I did. Got paid $5,000 to do that training, plus my distributorship. Now I'm making like $20,000 a month, and never made that much money. It's 1996, right? 1996, going on 1997, right? And so I worked Jacksonville for a few months. 1997 rolls around. We land up on 2020. as we were the fastest growing privately held company in American history in 1995, went from $0 to $500 million in sales. In 1996, we get aired on 2020. 1997, FTC comes in, shuts us down completely. We're done. Company's gone. Okay. Went from 20,000 a month to zero overnight. Didn't even get our last paychecks. They seize all assets. Now what? You quit, you go back. Most of you guys would quit. I ended up moving back, my tail between my leg, back to Albuquerque, no money in my pocket, spending everything, buying Harley Davidson motorcycles, doing all kinds of dumb shit, buying all kinds of dumb stuff. Land up, moving back to Albuquerque, going back to school, becoming a personal trainer for a short time as I'm trying to figure things out, have a little sales company that we had opened up, and I opened up a little concrete company, okay? And I just knew that I had to figure something out. But I came back a different person, guys. My mindset was different. I opened up a little concrete company, door-to-door flyers. And I would go in and I would knock on doors until I had a concrete job that next day. We did $1.7 million in sales very first year. We opened up our concrete company. Didn't know the first damn thing about concrete. Didn't know the first damn thing about construction. But I knew how to sell. And I had the damn confidence of a bull. Had never gotten straight A's in my life. I was a C student. But I came back with a different mentality. I went to school. And through the means of faith, guys, I knew I could make it. I knew I was different. It took me 3 years to figure it out. But 3 years into it, I finally made it, ladies and gentlemen. And I failed again. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, when I failed, it just made me stronger. And I came back and I opened up this little concrete company that in my first year, we did $1.7 million in sales. I made $700 and some thousand that year, net take home. And with no money in my pocket, mind you, I would take a 50% deposit from clients. And then I would race to get the project done because I didn't get the other half until I was finished. I'd go set up these little accounts. And I had a 460 credit score. My office in Jacksonville shut down on my credit. El Paso shut down. Albuquerque shut down. Had an office in Virginia, shut down. Allentown, Pennsylvania, shut down. All of them shut down. All the offices shut down. 26 lines of bad credit. Every office had Aaron Rents that I had rented furniture from, and Best Buy that I had bought sound equipment from for the offices, and then the lease. So every office had 3 lines of bad credit from every single office. One, Virginia, Allentown, Jacksonville, San Antonio, El Paso, and Albuquerque. 6 offices times 3. That's 18 lines of bad credit, plus my credit, my Boston credit card, plus my other credit cards. And people sit back and go, Jerome, I don't have no money. I had a 420 credit score, guys, 420. No money. And I created a business. You know, they wealthy people, what they say is they say, look, one thing, if I went broke today, I know I'd get all my fortune back in less than 1 year. And it's because we have something that most people don't have. And it's called life experience. And we have a belief. We know. I came back, I got straight A's for the first time in my life in my last 3 semesters of school. And I landed up coming back in, and we landed up crushing it, guys. $1.7 million in sales, $700,000 net profit. I start building houses the next year. I buy a retail building less than 6 months after that first house started construction in 2000. And by the time, by 2001, I became a millionaire, buying land and building houses. Less than 2 years later. Was crappy credit. I still had bad credit when I built my first house and I became a millionaire. I still had like a 500 and some credit score. It was on its way back up, but it wasn't there yet. And I did it with no money, bad credit, but I had the wisdom and I had a mindset, but I had faith. I still had fitness. I never compromised my health and fitness. In fact, when I came back in 1998, what better to do than compete in bodybuilding? And I landed up going in and winning the Mid-USA bodybuilding competition and the Mr. New Mexico competition. Then I go back in and I compete again in 1999. And I was runner-up because I was focused on my business, didn't focus on my diet as much. And then I was just like, you know what, I got to focus on bodybuilding or my business. My business is crushing it. I landed up taking second. I hate taking second in anything I do in life. So I was like, we're going to shelve bodybuilding and we're just going to get focused on business. And that's what I did, ladies and gentlemen. And so we go at it. And now we're doing retail. We're doing everything. We're doing ground up construction by 2002. We're driving into 2004, which is like our heyday. And by 2008, guys, we had a net worth of over $10 million. And we built it from zero. No credit. rock bottom. Some of you guys think you guys have it hard. You guys don't have it hard. You guys just don't have the faith. You guys are missing that aspect. And some of you guys don't exercise your relationships. The way we did that is that when I was in Jacksonville and I was going through this stuff, my mentor, Dale, called me. He goes, Jerome, how you doing? And I said, man, I don't even know where to go, bro. I feel lost. Like, what do we do? And he goes, just go back to wherever feels the most like home, where you have the most tight knit group around you. And I said, San Antonio. My buddy Rick was there. Darren was there. All of us became best friends. And so I go back to San Antonio, and now we're all working together, helping each other out, opening up these little nominal businesses. And it was, you got to focus on relationships, guys, friends and family, faith, fitness, finances come forth, guys. Success in business is a byproduct of all those four things: faith, family, fitness, then finances. You get those first three things in order, finances will come, I promise. But the success of finances are a byproduct of being successful in the other three areas of life, guys. You can't do it without those three being in alignment. You just can't. You have to have all four of those F's in alignment: family, faith, family, fitness, finances. Ladies and gentlemen, I put together a little program. I put together a little mentorship program that you guys can be a part of. I don't even have a link for it right now. We just put this together, guys. DM my team, DM me, or comment below. We'll get your email. You can also email Will on our team at info@jeromemaldonado.com. We can send you more information about it. But to help you guys get the fundamental base, if you guys need a group and you guys feel like, hey, man, I just need a core of people to be around like you, Jerome, and I need to be around the proximity of your people, I put it together for you guys, right? And so if you guys want to be a part of something like that, I did build it for you guys. Then DM me. I don't even have the link. Tonight I came on. I didn't want to sell you guys anything. I just want to come in and just share a little bit of my life story with you guys and what it takes, those four elements, guys, on what it takes to become successful in business. Most people undercredit that stuff, and they think it's what they learn, this super powerful burst strategy or this arbitrage Airbnb bullshit, or how to buy land and build houses, or how to go out and become a multi-gazillionaire in apartments, right? It ain't about that, guys. Get your shit in order. Get your shit in order. When you get your shit in order, success will come, I promise. Thank you guys for hanging out. Join me. Go back in, #repeat. If you like the content, click and subscribe, and pound that thumbs up button. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you guys. Good night. Go out and compound your success.